Okay, I think the stream should be up now. What time zone am I in? Central time, bro. I live in Texas. Central time. It's 12:18 right now. Nice. Dallas. What part of Dallas are you from? Live on YouTube? Yeah, live on YouTube. Can somebody, let's see, actually, we can do this. Let's see. Just make sure the stream is on. Actually, I don't know if I can see my own live stream on my channel. Can somebody just check out and see if this is live? Should be. Cool. Cool. Let me this over here. How about the chat here? Louisville, okay. Nice. It's quiet over there. So wake up around 6. No, bro, I wake up around 7. Like, honestly, I hardly care now for the beginning of the New York session. More so, like, I want to be pretty much up and awake by the time the New York Stock Exchange is open. Right, so like I think New York session opens up at 7 my time. 7 or 7:30. Let me double check that. Because I do always I do get a little bit confused whenever the time zone changes. I don't know if the hour changes as well. I don't think it does, but yeah, so New York session opens up at 7, right? Yeah, at 7 my time. And the stock exchange opens up, I think 8:30. I believe it's 8:30. So by the time that stock exchange is open, then usually we see some volatility come in. And like because I'm a scalper, like I don't care about the extra moves. I just wanna catch some type of continuation or transition right after that. And then I kind of just stop like around 1, 2 p.m. But it's been working. I really am trying to shift and just hone down to just literally just either one asset and just kind of trade maybe the same 2 to 3 models, right? Because I do prioritize a couple of models over the others. Not that they aren't as effective, they just become a lot more clear for me. So anyways, we can go ahead and get started. But yeah, a couple of announcements. So I was kind of waiting because I'm still waiting on one last thing and it's not on this list. There's one thing which is the big part about the announcement that I'm kind of waiting for it to be complete. Just kind of waiting for our devs to fully complete the project, and then that way it's ready for release. But have something very interesting coming along with that, and with that coming along, then I'm actually going to terminate subscriptions. I think they're a bit too much of a hassle, and it's really just it doesn't make enough money for me to have to deal with the hassle. So I'm gonna stop those for now. And I believe there's only a couple who are active, so those people I'll just let them in to the Discord just for the rest of the year for free, no worries. But then once next year comes, we can discuss something else, because I did mentioned back in December 2023 that I would be taking this from a not necessarily lifetime thing, but I did discuss that when we did the transition at the time, whatever we do is essentially for the next year, which is 2024. And then whatever happens after 2024, we would kind of wait and see how everything fell through. And then from there, make a decision on how we would go about 2025 and beyond. So I've kind of really made my decision. It did take a long time. It's obviously August now. But really what I really want to transition to is something that's a whole lot more streamlined in terms of dealing with anything RCV. And what I mean by that is if I'm going to take time out of my day to do webinars when I'm not necessarily making too much money from it, then I want to at least be able to give it out to as many people as I possibly can. So now rather than adding a pay gap to the webinars themselves, I said, hey, you know what? Let's just make these for free, right? And I've seen a lot of people get on the calls, especially on the Spanish side, right? So on the Spanish side, I get anywhere from like 90 to 100 viewers, and I'm like, wow, that's very, very good, right? So I definitely want to start doing them on a more weekly basis. I would love to do those Spanish webinars on Thursdays, probably like around Asia session. I wouldn't do those in the morning, I'm too busy. But I'd like to do those on Thursdays, and on Fridays, we could still keep doing this how we do it. Occasionally, could move it to a Saturday in case I'm busy or if stuff comes up, because obviously my trade today, right, terrible habit. I don't recommend this, but today's trade was solely based on my phone. That's why I took a screenshot on my phone. I just saw the setup clear as day, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's worth it. So we just took it, and hey, it actually worked out. So 3 for 3 for the week. But yeah, I'll talk more about that once I pull up the charts. But yeah, now anytime where if you need me outside of, let's say, these calls, right? Because let's say best case scenario, I start getting 100, 200 people on these live streams, and or even 100, 200 people on the Zoom itself. Then okay, now that's a good problem, right? So now from here, I would definitely not necessarily have to add a pay gap, but more kind of just maybe leave the Zoom itself for the people who are, in the private Discord. And for the people who are in the private Discord, they can come on these calls, they can talk to me, they can send in their charts, etc. And if we still have extra time, then I will get into the YouTube comments. So, but for now, hey, I'll just throw in the Zooms on the free Discord, and we'll just go on with it until it's not as efficient. So if you need any time from me outside of that, then obviously we could set up a one-on-one, or we can do a journal review session. Those details are on our website if you guys don't have that, which I'm also going to make some updates to the website. Probably do those here today or tomorrow. But yeah, if you need me outside of that, and if you want to either look into our book, which I've gotten really good feedback from, or if you want to go to any type of calls or any type of journal reviews where we can get on a call and I can kind of just do these notes for you, or do these notes while you're on a call, or we can do these together. They could essentially be the same thing. But yeah, but other than that, the only thing that would ever cost anything is the introduction of the workshops that I mentioned. I believe it was like Monday or Tuesday. It's an idea I had about a couple of months ago, where I see a lot of people being very successful with the bootcamp model, which is the whole, you pay $5K for maybe a 3-5 day event, but more than likely, for majority of the time, those events are just genuinely just not worth it. A lot of people, like from what I've seen, anybody who did boot camps like that back in, let's say, 2020, 2021, they either no longer do them, they got a lot of backlash from them, or they have to completely rebrand themselves. So I'm like, you know what? Rather than trying to sell something exclusively that's like, let's say, once a quarter, once every 2 months, because hey, like, yes, maybe the people that purchase these boot camps didn't get the value that they think that they deserved, which is obviously, deserved is the bad word, but from the other POV, setting up these boot camps and doing these very high-end events, they're actually very draining. They're not really like they're not easy by any means, So obviously I do see both sides, but if I can find a middle ground where, hey, because I don't like to teach basics while I'm doing these calls, just because I think it's an inefficient way of using the time. So rather than trying to teach everything or avoid teaching that in as a whole, let's just set up, let's say, a boot camp, well, not a boot camp, but like a workshop. Let's say, let's set these up every 2 to 3 weeks. We can cover a specific topic, and hey, they're cheap, so obviously they're affordable. But at the same time, because there is a pay gap, there won't be too many people on there, right? In comparison to like the Zooms, etc. So it could be a bit more like quote unquote intimate, and we can actually go over everything that we need to go over. And then maybe this could be very valuable for the time and the money, right? The estimation in terms of how long I would want these sessions to be is no more than 2 hours. But if I could do these consistently over the next couple of weeks, I think it can really just build up the culture, and we can kind of go from there. But other than that, I will be making another announcement for the Discord. So if you're on the verge of purchasing a subscription, don't. Like, I'm going to end those. So even if you do get it, like, I'll credit you for whatever else that we do. But let's just avoid that problem. Give me like 1 or 2 days, and then you get a new announcement. So that kind of covers that for that. What do you guys think? You guys can type in your thoughts while I pull up my charts. Try to not rant on too much on that one, but what do you mean homework? What do you mean? To who? To who? To where? Yeah, okay. And so um how would I benefit from that? Think of that. Like do you mean include that in some workshops, or do you mean like make those like a general thing, or do you mean like make that an add-on for the Discord? Or because the main thing I'm focused on is streamlining everything. I want to be able to only do certain things for this at X designated times, and it kind of rinse and repeats over the next couple of months, so we can keep it up for the next couple of months. But at the same time, it's also worth my time because I'm not just doing it for free, So it has to work out both ends. 19th. I see. I could add it to the workshops. Um, I could add it to the workshops, but I wouldn't be included in the workshops, if that makes sense. Hold on, guys. I'm getting a call. 1 second. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, the only way, like, actually, that's a whole different conversation, right? But in terms of monetizing the group, it's very difficult because I don't want it to be too expensive to where nobody will do it, because then I'm missing out on obviously helping out other people. But if I can do something that's, let's say, lower ticket, and it helps out the majority of people, then that kind of is way better in terms of growing the brand and actually getting that word of mouth out. So that's kind of where I want to stand, because rather than selling something super expensive, you're kind of just selling yourself out. Because like, if you're going to pay me a whole lot of money to take out my time of day, it's a bit difficult. Like, it's a bit difficult because that number is not cheap. You know what I'm saying? But either way, I don't want to ramble on too much about that. What subscriptions are you talking about? Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, let me just pull up my charts, guys, and then we can go over that, and then we'll go over some case studies. And then for the last one, I'll just show you guys the Twitter, and then we'll go over it on my trading view. Oh, okay, that was you. Okay, okay. I think it would be really helpful to take recent structures, maybe date back the last few weeks, take off the write-ups and the outcome. Oh, I see. So, because the book itself has a whole bunch of examples of every single model. So maybe there could be versions where you have a markup and then you have a non-markup, kind of like that, and then you can kind of like replay it. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm actually going to note that down. Everything is in the book, bro. Everything is in the book. But yeah. Let's see. Okay, we can go ahead and get started. Let me minimize this a bit. So, very good week for me, actually. I've really, like I said, I really want to hone down on focusing on less, right? Because there's like a fallacy that I don't see it often with you guys, but I do see it often with other groups, where the comment is more pairs equals more positions, which isn't right. More pairs equals more profit, which is not right either. Those are not necessarily correlated in any way. Like realistically, and this is something I was talking to, if you guys were in the free channel, I was mentioning this to someone because he just seems so scattered. Like I see this guy, like I forgot his name. I think it starts with an N, but he's always saying like, oh, FGU, FEU because XX and X. Oh, F this, F that, and then he's scalping, and then he's trying to swing, and I'm like, yo, why are you so scattered? Like, yo, just hone down on one, what type of trader do you want to be, and two, the amount of pairs that you want to look into, right? I speak about this in the book as well, like, and we kind of talked about this on a Zoom the other day as well, where let me actually pull up my annotations here, where we kind of talked about a relationship between the types of pairs or the amount of pairs that you're trading and the type of trader that you are. And I'll make it really, really simple for you guys. Right? So red means that you want to have a consistent amount of trades, which is an X amount of trades, right? And this is just to paint an idea for you guys, right? Whereas the bottom axis is, right, the type of trader that you are, right? So let's say you go from a scalper into a swing trader, right? SC into swing, right? So if you want to stay as a scalper, maintain the same amount of positions, then realistically, let me take out a different color. Then if you want to say as a scalper, then if you want to have a certain amount of trades, then the amount of pairs that you trade, right? Let's say this is going up and this is the amount of pairs that you're trading. Let's say 1 into 10. Right? So if you want to maintain the same amount of positions and you're a scalper, then realistically, right, you only need a few pairs because more opportunities will show themselves, right? If we're talking about a weekly basis, right? If you're looking at a swing trader, looking at, let's say, if he's looking for swings, I don't know why I'm messing this up here, guys, sorry. But if you're a swinger and you're looking for positions, in the span of 1 week, you will probably get maybe 1-2 setups per pair, probably period, right? Whereas if you're a scalper, you might see 1 to 2 setups per day, right? Depending on how many models you trade, et cetera, right? So as you transition from a scalper to a swinger or vice versa, then you must acknowledge that the amount of pairs that you're looking at must either increase or decrease if you want to maintain the same amount of relative positions, right? So if I'm a scalper, right, especially I've noticed this when I was doing EU, I've noticed this when I do NAS SPX, I notice this now when I'm doing gold. It's just the less amount of pairs that I have, the better, because most of these positions that I'm taking aren't even like at the beginning of the session when most of the volume is coming into play. A lot of the times you can wait for those moves to play out and you just get the end of the session. You maybe get a sweep model or just any type of continuation into the upside or downside. And that's kind of where I've benefited this week, right, above previous weeks. So anyways, enough with that, right? You want to, the point is you want to hone down what type of trader are you, right? Depending on what type of trader are you, that will determine how many pairs realistically you should be looking at to get X amount of positions per X amount of time, right? Or if you want to be a scalper, then realistically you want to eliminate majority of the pairs that you're looking at, right? And you don't want to be scattered. You kind of want to hone that all into one thing. So especially because I typically do a lot of things in the mornings while I'm trading as well, just because I kind of want to get all of my work done by the end of the day and kind of just go on, work out, and go on about my day. So I'm kind of really trying to determine whether I wanted to stick to SPX and NAS or if I wanted to stay with gold, right? So I'm really leaning towards gold only because of the amounts of positions that I actually see working out during the Asia session for gold. Especially because I'm a scalper, I'm only looking for short-term moves. And back in the day when we used to be swing traders, the issue with trading during Asia session was that you could maybe find a position, but you would more than likely be rated in either the London session or New York session. So it would kind of cause me to just stay away from the Asia session as a whole. But now, because because I'm more so of a scalper, there's actually a lot of positions that occur in the Asia session, which is pretty much right before I go to bed. So if I can stick to one pair, stick to the same models, and I trade 2 sessions essentially, then there will be no shortage of opportunities. Now it's just a matter of me saying which opportunities I want to say yes to and seeing if I can capitalize in terms of the amount of winning trades that I can get, maybe get that to go from 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 to 5, rather than trying to scatter myself in between multiple assets during one session. I would just focus on one asset during multiple sessions, if that makes sense. So I might be leaning over to gold. I'm still deciding. But as of now, I'm really leaning towards gold. Hence why I only traded gold this week. So, sorry guys, I got another call. Sorry. Anyways, right, coming into my position here, I know that I am in the session. I know that internally we are bullish, right? I noticed that a minor intraday high has been swept. Not to mention you have equal highs that have been built, and it is also given me a bullish move to take out that liquidity as well. So as soon as I get an internal transition or an internal unwillingness to then continue lower, right, then I have a sweep model, right? Because you guys know that the sweep model is essentially when we take out some type of short-term high or low, and then we have an internal transition, and that could either be another model or it could be a sign of unwillingness, right? Or whatever really you choose. But there has to be a confirmation after the high or low has been swept so that you can then assume that we have only swept liquidity and then we will pursue another set of liquidity, right? So what happened here? I got my reaction, right? I kind of got my follow through, and the good thing is I was able to move my stop relatively quickly, right? Because you guys know that I will only move my invalidation if I have a CBOS continuation, right? CBOS continuation. So I can now move my invalidation here, right? Which means I've now cut my risk into below half, right? And actually the same thing, right? After here, once I'm noting that there is an internal bearish range, I notice that there is a bearish POI. So if there is a reaction from this POI and then we break a structure point, then I can move my invalidation here, right? And then the same thing goes for down here. Once I'm seeing the order flow continue, right? I was hoping that from this mitigation point, we would actually reach into the equal lows. But that did not happen. We got a reaction from the POI, and I put my trailed stop here because there is some type of internal break there, right? And I know that if, right, we have the reaction from the POI and we are to then break this high here, then realistically, this could be a form of structural disruption, and then this could probably end up flying on me, right? So I just took the trailed stop. This was about a 1 to 1.5 RR, and it was actually, you know, a decent little turnout, because if we go to the chart for that day, I think that was Monday. Yep, this is where, right, this is where the trailed stop was hit. Once the trailed stop was hit, like I said, that could have been a sign of structural disruption. And so that for me, I'm just, you know what, I'm out. I'm out. And this actually ended up ranging for the rest of the day. And it ended up even holding me at break. I mean, taking me out at break even if I was to have held. So from there is when, you know, I realized that I made the right decision. And that's why I like to trail my stop in the way that I do, just because I know that I'm not necessarily moving my stop loss to reduce my risk. I am more so removing the risk by analyzing what my invalidation is and then moving the invalidation accordingly. So I'm not just waiting for breaks of structures to move it. I'm waiting for a new structural range to be created in order for me to move it. But yeah, either way, decent trade, 1 to 1.75. Not the best, not the worst, but it's still something. And something that I mentioned here a couple of minutes ago was the amount of moves that you get in the Asia session. This is why I say that, because I didn't take this position. I just kind of was looking at the charts at the time. But right in the middle of Asia session, this is about 8 p.m. my time, right? We take out the New York high, right? We take out the New York high. After the New York high has been taken, then you have an internal LGB confirmed, excuse me, and that also took out internal structure here, 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 and here. So there's a high momentum move into the downside, right? But there is still the potential, oops, sorry. There's still the potential, right, that this could just be a sweep and then we could have a transition and then this could still continue higher, because if we're looking at low into high, right, this is still bullish to some extent, right, even though it's not convincing. So I needed a bit more information, and in effect, right, our original target was actually targeted after the internal transition, right, after the sign of unwillingness. This high is now confirmed after the internal structure break. Why? Because this low broke the final point of the final high that created that final move into the upside. So once that is broken, that solidifies the high as a sign of unwillingness. So from there, I believe there was an M3 candle. I believe that was the one. Sorry, right here. Right, there was an M3 candle, and I didn't take this, right, but I kind of just looked at it to see if it would play out or not, and it played out. And I'm just like, yo, this is a 1 to 4 in the middle of the Asia session, and now I can go to sleep happy. Like, whatever, you know, it's and if I can continue to replicate this, which is pretty much just doing the same thing I'm already doing, just at a different time of day, then I don't see why I shouldn't stick to only one type of pair. So that concludes the first position, right? A trailed stop being hit. Any questions with that? Or any questions with the Asia session move before we move on? Straightforward, cool, no questions, no concerns. Just a sweep model in play, aiming for the next point of liquidity, and that's it, rinse and repeat. Cool. No questions. Move on to the next. No questions, no concerns, guys. Just tell me yes or no. We can move on. Cool. Moving on. Next one. So, very simple continuation here as well. Not even a continuation, but more so a transition in play. I mean, I'll show you guys the transition in play. I think I showed it in the second picture, but how I developed this bias at the time was I'm obviously looking at the direction. The direction is obviously bearish. All right. At the time, it is bearish here, right? So it's high into low. There's a low down here, and then we come into a retracement, and then this low failed to break the previous low. So because that failed to break and then broke structure, this here is unwillingness. So if we failed to break the low, then we will more than likely break the high. And because we're breaking this high, I said, you know what, we're probably going to break this high because this is the New York high at the time. So based on that, obviously I know that the internal structure or the overall structure is still bearish, even though there is still a sign of unwillingness. This is internal unwillingness. External would be once the high is fully broken. So I know that if I want to pursue the high, I need a bullish transition. So I understand that we have taken out a previous low, which also creates this as unwillingness. So once this is now unwillingness to the upside, then if I still want to pursue the highs, then I must have an internal transition, because at the time now, this is still technically bearish. So once I noted, right, that we had an LG in play, that now is the inverse of that, meaning this is now a sign of unwillingness because the high that created the final low internally has been broken. So this is arguably no man's land, but the only thing that's keeping me up is the fact that we have a high, low retracement, unwillingness. So we should be pursuing the highs. I just need an excuse to pursue the highs, right? So once I see the order flow be present, right, we do have a clear sell to buy here, right? And we have broken the structure, right? And we then have an LGC, which I can show you guys how this is an LGC here in a bit, but there is an LGC internally. So I said, you know what? I could just take the final sell to buy here and I can pursue previous highs. And the result of that is here, right? And I'll actually show you all something very interesting. I'll show you all the reason why this worked. Okay, sorry guys, one more text. But yeah, we got the internal order flow to come in play. We had the LGC model in there. So once we had the LGC model, I said, you know what, it's time to hold this. And something that I noted while I was in this position is that, let me ask you guys something. Is anybody in here 100% emotionless when they're looking at their charts? Yes or no? From 20 minutes ago, you can just re-ask it once I'm done here, bro. Negative. Now, another question. Do you guys think you will ever get to a point where you will be fully emotionless when you're trading? Probably not. You will probably not, bro. Because let me tell y'all, whenever I'm in these positions, my heart is still racing, man. Like I'm still like, fuck. Like, I need to be right. Because like, I do also, I don't want to say I self-sabotage a lot, but I have gotten better that if I'm feeling something, I will not let that influence me to make a decision. I know that every decision that I make on the charts is purely based on a rule-based system. everything that I have, right? Whether it's the positions that I take, whether it's how I find my bias, whether it's how I trail my stop, whether it's how I find my targets, it's all pretty much concrete into X amount of rules. And you guys know this, you guys see this, right? So because everything is concrete and rules, right? I know that I will only make a decision if X happens, right? If this, then that statements. If something is to happen, then I will do this, right? If I get my bias to be shown in a certain way, and if I am to have this model in play, then I can take this position into X out of liquidity. All right. So yeah, like I said, whenever I'm in positions as well, like I'm also like, you know, fuck, like what if this doesn't work? Like should I just close now? Right? Because like originally when I was looking at this position, I'm like, should I close here? Right? We built up, you know, the relative equal highs. We then took that high and I'm just like, well, we're now here and I'm stuck here. So I'm like, yo, should I have just taken my full profit there? Or am I still correct to keep my trailed stop? And the reason why I moved my stop there is because you guys know continuation BOS into a new BOS creates a new structural range. And that's why I moved my SL here. So I said, you know what? Like heart's racing. What do I do? Should I have taken out here? Should I keep holding? You know, it's a lot of in between. So I'm like, you know what? Let it be. Whatever happens, happens. And then I believe there was I think it was FOMC at the time, and FOMC really just rocketed me into my take profit, right? So you guys are still going to feel these emotions, but if you make a decision based on that, then, you know, it's all on you, right? If you don't make a decision, then congratulations, you do something that majority of people don't do, right? So I let this, right, emotionless state not make an impact on what I'm doing in terms of my decision making at the time when I'm looking at this, right? And I specifically remember this because I knew I was going to bring this up today. I'm like, yeah, should I have closed out? Should I have not closed out? I'm like, look, at the end of the day, the only certainty is a result. So I'm only going to make my plays based on the rules that I have, and whatever result I get is what I will gather an opinion on, right? Because at the end of the day, these emotions that I was feeling here and here, right, after this TP hit, these are now irrelevant. They don't matter no more. Move on, whatever. That's why I stick to the rules, and that's why I think you guys should stick to the rules as well. But I also think that you shouldn't neglect the fact that you are going to feel certain things at certain times. So just embrace them, acknowledge them, and move forward. That's pretty much it. Yeah. When you aren't looking at the charts, it helps. That's why I like doing other things while I'm doing my trading as well, right? But there's obviously pros and cons to everything, right? Because if I'm looking at other things, then I could be more scattered, right? I could be less focused. So it's just really finding that. I hate the word balance, but just finding what works for you in that sense. I hate the word balance, but really just got to find what works for you. But yeah, any questions or concerns on this setup? I'll show you guys this setup here as well. Okay, so the reason why I say this is an LGC, I'll actually go into the 15 for you guys here, is because at the time, right, at the time, oops, sorry, I hope you guys didn't hear that. I accidentally hit my mic, but there is a clear sell to buy here, right? And the sell to buy caused an internal reaction, breaking some type of structure here and here. So this is technically, right, a form of structural disruption if we're looking at high, low, retracement, unwillingness, right, and then the full break. That is technically a form of structural disruption, right? So the structural disruption is in play, right? I also acknowledge that we created the external LG, which is the purple lines, right? And after we hit the sell to buy that caused the potential SD, right, I now know that I'm looking for some type of reaction, right? Because I technically cannot buy at this POI because this is breaking structure and this is still internally bearish, right? So I can't buy here. I think it's still a bit too aggressive, even though it would have turned out to be a monster trade. I just thought it was a bit too aggressive. So once we had the reaction of the POI and we had the LGC, which the LGC not only confirms the model in play, which is the break this low and the break this high, but it also confirms the POI that I am playing here. So once the POI that I'm playing here gives me the reaction, right? I don't care about taking the POI here internally. A lot of people will. This is what we used to do. I'm like, let me just take the entire sell to buy, right? And that's what caused that here. right? And if you want to go even further than that, right, this is something I don't technically recommend because this isn't something I do. But if you even wanted to take it a step further, like, right, we're coming into the POI, like this is stuff that Tomas does. Like we have the CBOS here, we have high, low, retracement. Actually, I'll annotate so you guys can make a little bit more sense of it. High, low, retracement, right? Retracement is confirmed because of the internal break, right? And this now causes structural disruption. So I can now use the entire sell to buy, and I could have taken any buy here. Right, and that I could take that even further from that as well, but it's pointless, right? Like I don't need to go that far. I just need to focus on, at most, I really go into the 15, but typically I'll just go to the 30 because it gives me a different POV of M1. But yeah, does that make sense, guys? Do you guys understand why I'm looking at this position, right? Unwillingness, right? Into the LG here, into then the internal LGC, which then gives me the opportunity to pursue a high. Make sense? Yes or no? Cool, perfect. And the last one is my position from today, which is this one, right? I was actually outside running a quick errand, and I was looking at the chart at the time. Right? I was looking at the chart at the time, and I said, damn, like I actually missed out on a position this morning. And the position that I was mentioning is there was actually a sweep model right before this position, right? There was a sweep model because you're technically bullish, right? And then you sweep a low, and then you can see that there's a clear order flow here. So when there's a high, low retracement, and from a seconds time frame, I assumed, right? I don't know if this is fully correct, but I did assume that there's a reaction and then a break. So because I assumed that, I'm like, wow, I actually missed out on potentially buying here, right? Because this would have been a buy into the purple high there, and that would have been like a 1 to 2, 1 to 3-ish, and I thought I missed out on that. I'm like, wow, oh well. But as that was happening, I'm like, hey, like this is not fully breaking the high. It's not fully breaking the high. There's equal highs right here. We have just swept the high, right? And I am now looking at this from a POV where we have a POI that created a violent reaction to the downside, which is potentially structural disruption internally. I'm like, hey, let's take some small risk here. Let's just take the position, set our stop loss at the high, and let's see this take out the previous low. And what happened after that? Well, got a very good react. Pretty much the best trade of the week while I wasn't even on my desk. So this also emphasizes that I should only be looking at one asset, but overall, really, really great trade. Most of these trades this week are really, really good. Like for example, that second trade here. Actually, no, that's a different one. We can cover that here in a bit. This one, 1 to 4, 1 to 1.7, right? I didn't take that one. And then today's was a 1 to 1, 1 to 1 point, I mean a 1 to 5.3, sorry. This was just a back test, guys. I didn't take this one. This was another one of those late session moves. I just wanted to see something, but that's irrelevant. And I actually was looking for a position yet last night, right, during Asia session, but that didn't work out only because, yo, who's writing on my screen? Please stop. Please stop writing on my screen. Osama, please stop writing on my screen. So during the Asia session, which is here, it's about 9 p.m. I was looking at this potentially giving me a sweep right into the creation of a POI, which is on I believe M3, M5. But I was also anticipating that to be a potential structural disruption if this low was to have broken. But that did not happen. And I was kind of just trying to assume that this would come back into the POI and then give me the reaction. And I was aiming for a previous structure high, which is this green line. But because I was given the reaction here, which is the purple line, I don't know why it's misaligned, but because this broke the purple line and then came into the POI, that means the reaction has already occurred. So can't take anything there, right? And then this one was just a back test that I took. Oh, no, I didn't take this, right? But this was just a back test for the day, where we kind of had previous bearish momentum, right? We swept the high, right? And then we even swept the high again, created an LG, created a bearish structural range, but this is still technically bullish, low, high retracement. So once this retracement then comes into the high, if we're looking at internal structure, then there is an internal low into high. And then once this breaks, that solidifies this as unwillingness to continue higher. And I just saw the turbulence point with SL invalidation pursuing a previous low. That's just the backtest that I was looking at the time. I didn't take that one. But yeah, as for today's move, yes, we were bullish at the time, and I did miss out on this internal move that I just mentioned. But from the internal POV, I did notice that after we had swept this high, we had solidified the internal high, the micro high, right? Which also, I must acknowledge this as a minor intraday high that is being swept, and then the micro high here being solidified after the structure break, right? Once I have the change of momentum, right, I do have the confirmation to potentially take this lower. And so, yes, I did acknowledge that we have order flow here still playing out, but this is 30-second order flow in comparison to a sweep of an M5 high, which is potentially a minor intraday high, right? So I'm going to trust the minor intraday sweep, right? And I'm just looking for a micro transition, right, to play out that bias. And I know that I can only aim for the previous low because we don't know what happens after the low has been swept, right? And that's why I'm aiming for that low. And this actually went directly into deep profit. But the problem here is that when I move my SL, I could only move it here, right? Because we have a CBOS continuation. My trailed stop is here, right? And so ever since then, we failed to break any type of high. So this is the first time here that we break a high, but I acknowledge that we have a POI here. So once we have the CBOS continuation, then I can move my trailed stop here, right? So it would have been trailed stop 1, trailed stop 2, but then TP was hit. But that concludes my trades for today. If you guys have any case studies, let's go ahead and go through them. I do have to go relatively soon. But yeah, this is a monster trade. I was very surprised. I thought this was going to lose, if I'm being honest. I was extremely surprised that this play out, but just goes to show, man, like the models are in play, right? The main models that I prioritize are, I mean, I use all of them, right? Like I mentioned all of them today. Like I mentioned SD to develop a bias. I mentioned LGC in the previous trade, right? I mentioned the sweep model twice, right? The one I didn't mention was order flow disruption, but I'm sure you guys see order flow disruption play out all the time, which is just a failed POI. But I try to use most of my models because I mean, they are my models, right? Of course I should be using them, but I did not expect this one to play out as it did, but yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and go through these. Go ahead and go through these. Yeah, Ray's posted them. I'm gonna pull them up here right now. I'll go through his first, and you guys can start posting yours, and then we'll go in order. One. Okay, let's see this. Let's see. Okay, I see the LGC in play. I see the LGC in play, which causes the internal structural range, and you're just looking at the buy to sell that created the move. And with SLN invalidation, let's see how this played out. Wait. Are these different? Is this the same move? Or am I tripping here, guys? No, his position worked out. The original position actually did play out. What's the TP? 309. 309. The TP hit, right? And so I don't know why the switch is biased, but look, this is a pullback. This is a CBOS. This is a pullback, right? The structural range is intact, right? This is the scalp. You're focused too much on the micro, right? The micro break is not a reason to buy. The micro break means that the solidified low has been set for the scalp POV. So his original position would have actually worked out. But yeah, this is just a reversal trade. Ray's knows better. I've seen him do better. So yeah, I know he'll be fine with that. But yeah, this ended up playing out. Next one. All right, direction is high. Is up, I'm sorry. Liquidity has been swept. And there actually was a move here. So just based on this, right? Based on this alone, what I would be looking for is, I know that the direction is bullish. I know that whatever high, this is probably the Asia low, excuse me, has been swept. There's an internal structural disruption here. And if you guys don't know what I mean with that, it's high, low, retracement, solidified, and then broken through that structural disruption. That creates a structural range. And I would have used the sell to buy to potentially give a move, but there's actually an internal POI there as well. So use the POI with the invalidation at the low, and you can pursue the previous high here. And that would have been my take. That would have been my move in this moment. OFD, okay, that's fair. I just didn't give you the retracement, right? So we got everything right except you didn't get the timing right on the entry. So I have nothing bad to say about the OFD. The model is correct, right? The model is correct. It just didn't give you what you wanted, right? It gave you the internal reaction and then the internal continuation. But typically, I don't recommend to chase these, because these are more so higher risk trades, because you're kind of anticipating something to continue rather than seeing that potentially give you the reaction and then give the pullback and then give the move. I just don't want to get caught up here, if that makes sense. But yeah, nothing bad to say here. He developed the bias correctly. He just didn't get the timing on the execution, and that happens. Last one, okay. Bearish, bearish. This is good. This looks really good, actually. I just hope he got his entry on this one. Okay, I see it. I see the LGC. I see him coming back into the where the change of character occurred. Came into the entry. Now did this play out? Okay, it gave you a reaction and you trailed your stop. Perfect. Okay, so I like the setup. I like everything. I like how he entered here. I like where his invalidation is at. That's great, right? Once you have the CBOS continuation, right, you could technically move your stop. But I like how he moved the stop after this break into this high here, because now once this order flow creates a move to the downside, if that is to break, that is the inverse OFD. So the invalidation move was correct, bro. Well done on this one. So yeah, not much to say on anything except for the first one. I think the first one he was pursuing a reversal, whereas here he actually did everything he was supposed to, everything he could have done with what he was given. So no complaints on the last one. Failed GU, failed break on gold. This is not a sweep model, bro. This is not a sweep model. Let's see. So the problem here, let's see, is, right, where is the last time we had a structural range? The structural range is here, right? Low, 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 low. No low has been broken. This is the first time a low breaks. So this is still technically the pullback of the entire range. So with this, you should still anticipate this low to break a previous high. And then if from here, there is a move, and then there is a failed transition, and now this is a sweep model. This is not a sweep model. Right, it's low, high, retracement. You still have to anticipate this to continue higher. Yeah, and let's see, from here. Yeah, you see it's still, you got to still anticipate that. You still have to anticipate that to continue. Right? You're better off trying to buy the sell to buy in the structural range and try to get a better move into the upside. Yep, but who cares if it reacts? Just because you get a reaction does not mean you get a follow through. A reaction is nothing. The reaction just shows that the POI you're using is correct. But if you get the follow through after the POI, that shows that you have the direction correct. So do you want to have the POI correct or do you want to have the direction correct? You want to have the direction correct, because if you have the direction correct, then more than likely it all works out. Right? So if you have a POI reaction, that just shows you can analyze and read a POI. But if you have a POI that reacts and follows through in your direction, then that means that's, for me, a higher grade. But yeah, man, see, like, for example, the difference here, low, high, retracement. This, you still have to anticipate that to take out a previous high. So now it's low, high, retracement, right? Why do I say retracement? Because this low, let me use a different color. This one did not break the previous high. This did not solidify. It did not break any internal structure here. Maybe it did on a seconds time frame, but not on this time frame. So that means that I could still anticipate this pullback to still be intact. Right? That's why I said that I had missed out on a move here with the sweep here and then the potential entry here. The reason why I said that I missed that is because this low into this high is still in play. So I have to assume that even if we're taking up bearish structure, this is still another CBOS, but I still have to assume that this high is going to be broken. So that's why when I assumed the inverse direction, it was because the blue had completed its play, the high, low, high retracement, it completed its play, and then it gave the internal reaction here, which is what I had shown you guys a bit before, right? So because this high was solidified from a micro POV, and then we had the change of momentum here, I said, you know what, it's worth the risk. Because it's a 1 to 5. I haven't gotten a 1 to 5 in you know, it's been a while, I would say. It's been a while, but do you see where you had your mistake here? I think your mistake here was more a structure mistake than anything. Like, don't assume the internal structure to create an external break of structure, if that makes sense. Right? Like, yes, there is internal breaks here, internal breaks here, internal breaks here, internal breaks here, but that's just low, high, retracement, high, retracement, high, retracement, high. So once this breaks, that doesn't mean that the overall direction has been taken out. It just shows that your internal micro has now created a retracement for the color blue. So I'm looking at these minor intraday highs and lows to kind of play out, right? Because you need these. We can only trade in a trending market, right? We can. It's very difficult to not, you know, or to trade outside of these conditions. So if you have your high and your low marked out, and you have a retracement, usually it doesn't matter what happens in the retracement unless you solidify. Let's say you break internal structure. Actually, that's a bad drawing. That's a terrible drawing. Like, let's say the only way is if, right, we have this high and then we have the internal structure and then we solidify and then we break. That is disruption because it creates the internal structural range, but it also has a solidified low, being the pullback low, to be solidified and then broken through. So does that make sense? before you have the history of the first blue high, is that not a BO? I don't know what you're saying, bro. I don't know what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead. Just annotate on the screen. If you're on a, I mean, if you're not on a computer, probably can't, bro. And you're on, I don't know if you can annotate on the phone. Yeah, if you can just screenshot it and just put it in the free chat, and I'll pull it up here real quick. Cool. We'll move on to another one while we wait for you. But yeah, I only have like 10-15 more minutes, guys, so we kind of have to move this on relatively quickly. Okay, here. Okay, I like this. Unwillingness, break of structure, and then you can continue. Perfect. Yep, because there is an efficiency here. Here. Yep, this is a great target. Perfect trade, in my opinion. Perfect trade. You did with what you had, and it gave you the result you wanted. So the RR isn't the best, but these trades are almost guaranteed. If you can get these kinds of entries, they're almost guaranteed to at least give you the first TP, and usually that's a good 1 to 2 R. Not the same at all, bro. Not the same at all. Not the same. Let's see. So this one works out because you have low, high, retracement, unwillingness, break, and then he entered. You are trying to sell prematurely, right? You're trying to sell here, which it could work out, right? Like he could have sold here, but we understand that this is a high risk entry because there's still high, low, high retracement in place. So we have to anticipate this high to still be ran. That's the difference. But yeah, did Brian get the screenshot going, or are we done? Nothing in the YouTube chat. Alberto, thank you so much, man. Yeah, I should be done in the next 10 minutes. Should be done in the next 10 minutes. Hold on. Let me go back. Let me show you my annotations from back. Hold on. Can you delete your drawings real quick and then put them back again? Can you delete your drawings? Delete your green? Because I pretty much already answered your question. Okay, we'll just delete that. That's fine. So look at what you. So no. You're confusing the structure points, bro. Why is this green into this green? I would say if you're focused on this high and this low, then you have to be focused on this low here as your green. Right? This should be the green here. This is low into a high. If you're going from here, low into a high, this is wrong, right? Because if you're going from this low to this high, then you're using two levels of structure at the same time. So this low, if you're going to do anything, it has to go into this high. And then this low goes into this high, right? And then this low goes into that high. Why this high, not this high? Because this is the first time from then that it is solidified. So even if you break, this is why I say, like, this is why I don't use the concept of reversal BOS much, because a reversal BOS is a CBOS externally because the price is fractal, right? So if you have a reversal BOS on a scalp, then it's only a continuation BOS on a minor intraday, right? Because these reversal breaks of structure, whether they could be from a scalp micro, from a minor intraday, it's still here in play. Yep, exactly. It's internal. Like the external reversal, I mean, the internal reversal BOS is just an external CBOS because price is fractal. Right, so yeah, I guess this is why we need to go over market structure with these workshops. CBOS with which low? Yeah, that one is a CBOS of the external range, but it's an internal reversal BOS, right? So don't let it confuse you. That's why I don't use reversal BOS like ever. I just understand that any structure break on a lower time frame is an external CBOS. So if I think this is the sign of a reversal from the internal, let me look at the external and see if I'm right. That's pretty much all I'm saying. Right, because you just get caught up. You just get caught up trying to see this. You get too caught up trying to see this. Where in reality, this is more than likely what's going to happen. Why? Because low into high, CBOS, CBOS, sell to buy here, PP here. You see the difference? Right, if you guys can replay that same sequence multiple times, like, oh, okay, it didn't show it again, but you guys see what I'm saying. Like, this is why it's always C over R. It's always continuations over reversals. Always. If I take a reversal, it's usually a sweep model. But the reversal is a short-term play, right? That's why it's worth the risk. Exactly. It's very easy to get caught up in the lower time frame. But no. That's the wrong statement. It's not that you get caught up in lower time frame. You get caught up in multi-time frame. So stick to certain time frames. It's not about the time frame that you're on. It's the same shit if I'm on H4 here. It's the same shit. It's not that you're getting caught up in the lower time frame. You're getting caught up in the multi-time frame analysis, right? So that's why you don't see me on H4, H2, daily, For what? Like, there's no point. I'm already given everything I need on my M1. Right? So I just need to focus on what I know, or focus on what I'm focused on, which is my scalp positions on my scalp time frames on my scalp targets. Right? So it's not that the lower time frame is noise. It's not that you get caught up in the lower time frame. It's just that you get caught up in the multi-time frame analysis. So it's a shift in POV, right? Because to blame the lower time frame is a cope. You see what I'm saying? I wouldn't look too short. Oh, I would. Well, here, obviously. Oh, if this low is to be broken, then I'd have to see externally what's going on. What's going on at an M5? Yep, this would need to be broken, and then I need to see what's happening in the M5. But there's also there's many more factors in place, bro. Because what if we just sweep this low, unsubstantially new low, and then you have a transition? Then I can aim for here. So it's not black and white where if this low is to then be broken, then I'm looking for a sell. No, it's just like if this low is broken, how is it broken? Because it's all depending on the reactions, like on how the price is built when X high or X low is being taken out. That's really how it falls down to, right? Like I'm not selling here. I'm not selling here if this substantially breaks a new high. If it substantially breaks a new high, then it's all completely eliminated. I wouldn't even entertain the idea. I would have just went on about my day. Right? Does that make sense? Like it's not necessarily black and white. Like yes, it is if this then that, but there is a lot of if this then that within the if this and that, if that makes sense. Right? So any more questions, concerns? If not, I do have to bounce here soon. Cool. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Also, just be ready for the Discord announcements, and I do have to write everything up. So let me just get through all of it, and then I'll make that announcement probably next week Zoom. But yeah, if you guys want to watch the recording, just go to the live stream that I posted on YouTube. And if you don't know where to find the live streams, it is here. You just go to my channel. And you don't go to videos. You don't go to videos. You go to live. And then this is where all the recorded lives are. All right, last week's, the previous Spanish one, and then the ones before that. So these are going to start accumulating up. So, all right, guys, I will see y'all in the next one. Keep the lives coming. Yeah, man, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.